All right. Well, I'll start again. What I was saying is that when I first started in this home business arena industry, many years ago, my sponsor helped me set up an account with Google AdWords, and so that's where I started, and that's how I started. So I didn't know anything about Google AdWords, but fortunately, it was very simple in those days. It was dead easy, So she just set up one very basic and crude campaign for me, or helped me set it up, and then within like by the next morning, I had leads, I had inquiries. So I thought, wow, this is pretty good so fast, and so then the next thing, of course, was to phone the inquiries, which presented another challenge all by itself. But at least that early experience told me that there were people out there in the community who were interested in this type of thing, and that was my number one concern. Well, how do we find people? And I think most people on the call will relate to that, because we don't know unless we've had prior experience, and I hadn't had that experience. So the fact that little Google AdWords campaign started producing leads within 8 hours or whatever it was, gave me a lot of confidence, and so Google AdWords became my primary lead generation platform for a long time, until Google changed the rules. They moved the goalposts and they made it far more difficult, and it just it became almost impossible to work with them. So I don't use Google anymore, and because of that, I decided that I would never again be reliant on any one source, never. So I just made it my business to look for other ways and learn about other strategies, and which that could also produce a good result. So the search began. So
and it's a big search, isn't it? Because a lot of people are relating to what you say, especially in the 2002, 2004. It was like a goldfield, going onto Google, and it was just phenomenal, the amount of money, and then it all sort of dried up. There was nothing there. You couldn't afford the traffic there. It's just too
couldn't afford the traffic, and they became very difficult to deal with from a compliance point of view. So Google has lost a lot of traffic in the affiliate marketing and associated niches, and that must have cost them a heap of revenue, and too bad.
And do you think it's because of the growth in Facebook then that's clawed back a lot of it, and
but also because of their super strict policies, just making it unviable for people like me to work with them. But yes, the growth in social media, Facebook, the obvious one, but even YouTube, which is owned by Google, has had a big increase in advertising revenue, and some of it has come from Google AdWords. I noticed that I saw a report that said that for the first quarter of 2014, AdWords revenue across the board, not just within our niche, because it's almost dead in our niche with Google, but across the board is down compared to the same period last year, like about 8% or something like that. So
wow, that's a huge hit.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting, and it's probably part of a bigger trend away from search and more towards social media.
Yeah, but you really amaze me for a number of things, because you're such an unassuming person. Like I've seen you on Facebook, but it's always those little barbed comments that you come across, or your point of view and being controversial, and that's what really stuck out for me and made you put your hand up. It wasn't the fact that you were virtually starting to make big gains online, and then people started to look at you a little bit differently because you weren't plastering results And I just thought that was amazing that you just got in and damn well done it, you know, whatever it was, and you became of interest then to a lot of people. What's he doing that I'm not? And you might want to just lead that story now that you just said about social media and how you were into that. What did you do next? What did you try next?
Well, after the Google thing, look, I'd read Mike Dillard's book, Magnetic Sponsoring, and he's talking about branding yourself and all this sort of stuff, and I didn't know anything about branding and all that, so I thought, but I took his advice on board, and I said, well, okay, I said to myself, well, maybe getting a blog would be a good way to go, a good way to brand yourself, you know. So I started with a blog, and I've had that blog now for many years. And then I got a YouTube channel, so I signed up for an account with YouTube, and I bit the bullet. I wasn't really confident about, you know, creating video content, standing in front of a camera, because I'm actually quite a shy person. And but look, you've just got to bite the bullet sometimes and overcome your fear and just do it anyway. You know, that's
do it. Yeah, well, that's it. It's always the first one that's the hardest, don't you think? You know, to get out there in front of the camera.
Yeah, so I just thought, oh, well, look, I'll make a total idiot of myself. What, I can always delete it. Or maybe it'll add to my authenticity if they see that I'm stumbling, and, stammering and stuttering and all of that. So I did it. I put it up, and that started a new era for me and a new phase. And I don't know how many videos I've done now, but I imagine there'd be at least 50. And I'm not a guru, a video, you know, YouTube guru or anything like that. I know that there are plenty of people that have had a heck of a lot more site visitors and views, etc., than me. But I mean, it's over 50,000 now, and for me, just a little old Kim Willis, amateurish YouTube video marketer, that's okay. Enough leads from it and traffic from it. So that's a free strategy. The blogging is a free strategy apart from the cost of the hosting. I know that there is one school of thought that says, oh, forget about free strategies, just pay money for advertising. But I like to take a balanced approach.
Yeah, I think that's and it spreads your advertising across the board too. It's not just on one or a couple of paid advertising. You know, sometimes, you know, I get hits back and leads back from YouTube on a regular basis. So it's okay, that's great. That didn't cost me anything to get, but you're right about you.
I agree, and there's something very satisfying about getting free traffic and what I have found is that with my blog and with YouTube, that when I do get a lead from those platforms, the quality of the lead tends to be higher because they've sort of educated themselves first before they reach out and, you know, fill in a capture form. And so they've educated themselves first. So if I do get to speak to them on the phone, for instance, they're already at a level that gives me, they're at a higher level. They're not just a completely raw lead. So I'm big on it. I love it. And
but I know that you work. Sorry for interrupting you. You work very close with your son, and I thought that was a lovely touch too. Because you know, you and I weren't brought up in Google era. You know, we had to do the hard yakka ourselves, and not all together around computers all that much. So that's a real good blend of youth and wisdom, if you like. You know. And that's obviously working really well for you as well.
Yeah, it is. Both my sons work with me.
Oh, both. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So that's satisfying in different ways.
Yeah, but I had to laugh. You know, like you're talking about branding, and you know, sometimes we don't think that anyone is watching us when we do something or put up a photo. But you just recently. I know it's down now, but you had one with shaving cream, and every time I saw you online, I said, I can't talk to him when he's got his face full of foam, you know.
that was me trying to show my wild and wacky side.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Some people think that I'm sort of super serious, but I do have a very wacky personality, and so I just wanted them to see that. But
Oh, it just cracked me up, Kim. And when you PM me, I'm looking at you with a face full of flame. I said, I can't take this guy seriously.
I've got another funny one that I'll be putting up soon. So.
Will you? Oh, okay. Yeah, but you know, you've branded yourself, and you know, through your videos, and that's really good for people to know that they're out there, and you know that they can have a go. You know, get out and have a go at it. You know, what have you got to lose? Nothing, really. You're putting yourself on the line. I
think the branding is so important. Most people don't do it because maybe they're scared of it. But I think probably the most important reason is they don't think they're worthy. They don't believe they're good enough. And I started branding myself fairly early, as I indicated, and you know, who the hell am I? I'm a nobody. But you know, I thought, well, I still, even though I'm a nobody, I know more about, let's say, internet marketing. By the time I decided to set up that blog, I knew more about internet marketing because I already had 12 months under my belt, and so or whatever it was, but I knew more than the person who's just making a new inquiry. Yeah. So I thought, well, if I don't need to know much more than that person, but as long as I know a little bit more, I'm good enough. You know, so just believe that you're good enough to do it, and then just start creating some content, and you know, you might find that you start to enjoy it, and you start to create a little bit of a following for yourself, and it definitely helps with conversions for sure.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand, doesn't it? You know, people will buy. It goes back to people love and trust you, or they like you and trust you. Because they'll buy from you, you know, and that's what you need to be out there for, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But moving on, I know that you've tried a lot of methods, as you just said, but what do you really put down to what has actually helped you at this point of time where you're killing contests without even trying, or it doesn't seem like you're trying anyway?
Well, I haven't killed many contests lately, but I'm still doing well. So that's my main benchmark, is, you know, how it works for me. But although I've done great with my primary business for the last 12 months. I've done fantastic, really. And why? How come? Well, I'd already built my brand, so that was a platform. But I put in the work previously. It wasn't like I got free business just for the heck of it. I got free or easy business because of the asset that I'd built previously. Okay, so there's to do this business properly. There is definitely some delayed gratification. If you're just after instant results all the time, I think you're going to find that you'll be very disappointed. You may even become bitter as a result of the experience, because you do need to take the long view. And look, I love to get a quick result too, don't get me wrong, I do, and I did get a quick result, but one of the big reasons why I got the quick result was because of what I'd done previously. You know,
the hard work and
building the brand and etc. So there was confidence, and confidence is number one in the minds of your prospect. And people, everyone's heard this a million times before, but people don't buy companies and products as much as they buy people. They buy another person. So if you can position yourself as being that person, well, it's more likely that they're going to do business with you. But so having the brand is a big one. But the other big one for me, in terms of getting the business done, not just in terms, I know this is mainly about lead generation, but you know, lots of people generate leads, but they still don't make much money. So often it's a conversion problem more than a lead generation problem.
Yeah.
So the other key ingredient for me is to reach out to those people and see if I can get a relationship started. And if I can do that, that increases the odds of success exponentially. So sure, I reach out via email, I'll try and catch them on Facebook, but if required, I will also see if I can talk to them on the phone.
See, that's the key, and that's what people are not doing. You know, that they throw traffic at it, oh yes, to opt in, and they go onto this list. This list is getting massive, or it is for a short time, till they find out that there's no interaction at all happening.
Yeah, that's right. And this is, Jenny, this is particularly true. This is particularly the case with programs that have moved past that initial stage. During the initial stage, what we might call the hot stage, the launch stage, you can just throw traffic and generate leads, and you'll get people signing up and paying money. But when that business moves to the next stage in their development, a little bit more of a mature stage, it becomes far harder to convert people because they've already seen the offer. They've already seen the company's logo, the name, they've seen it out there, and you know, we were talking about solo ads on the weekend, but that's just one example. There are lots of other examples where the same problem starts to arise once a company gets to that little bit extra level of maturity. And unless we can cut through in different ways, which might include a phone conversation or a Skype conversation or something like that, what we'll tend to find is that our conversions drop right down.
Yeah.
So I was having that problem with my primary program back in fact, I started to notice the problem. I was getting sales, etc., from the different methods that I was using, including solo ads and Bing PPC and banner ads and so on. But what I noticed was that my conversions started to drop by the end of last year, and I was thinking, what's going on here? You know, I'd already made quite a bit of money, but my conversions were dropping, and I was really worried about that. So I started, you know, trying all sorts of different ideas and techniques and so on, and it took me months until I finally worked out, I finally started on a new pathway, and that was in March, around Easter, and then I spent about 3 months or so refining that new pathway, and now the conversions are fantastic. They're really good.
So what did you do to liven up the list? You know, like, you know, we can all sit back and say, you know, they say that they're sending emails there. What is, are you doing the email or as well as getting on the phone to them? Because your list must be massive by now, you know,
well, it's not, my list isn't that massive, but it's responsive. Well, you know, a percentage of the list is responsive. Yeah, look, I do send out emails. I send out broadcast emails to my list probably 4 times a week. This is in addition to the normal follow-up series. I've got about 40 emails loaded into the follow-up series, and they're quirky email. You know, they're funny. They talk about experience that I've had. Sometimes they are a bit controversial, provocative. Not bland. I think bland is not for you. You don't want to be bland. You know, try and spice it up a bit. But you know, even with those email templates, those email formats that I use, and I think they are, you know, they're good. You know, they're above average in terms of quality and cut through. But even then, I was still finding I wasn't getting the conversions. I wasn't getting people signing up and paying money. And this, as I said, I started to notice this trend towards the end of last year. And so that went on for months and months and months. So I tweaked it. I tried all sorts of different email templates and formats and all the rest of it, and still wasn't working. I still wasn't getting conversions. And so it was only when I started experimenting with you know, phone contact, etc., that things started to move back in my direction, and the conversion started to happen again. And so it was the real difference was the phone. I hate to say it. I know people are looking for an easy way, but that's how it's been with me anyway.
But Kim, just before we move on from that, I was just interested to know, and I am asking on behalf of the questions that I've had given to me to ask you, how often do you broadcast, and how often do you send to your list? Is there a method to that, or you just sort of
well,
up on
before, I'll do a broadcast about around 5 a week, 4 or 5. Over the weekend, I don't do it on Sunday. I'll have a day off there, but I'll send a broadcast. Sometimes it's just a 2-paragraph, 3-paragraph item, and maybe I've got a video I want them to see, so I just send them that. But over time, the open rates on emails, they drop. They drop down, and sometimes they'll drop below 20%. I've had people tell me that they're not even getting 1% of their list opening. Now, I never have it as low as 1%, so that tells me that I'm doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. 20% is quite rare. I don't know if you realise that, but 20% is very rare.
Yeah, well, I've got one list that's older now, and it's now averages around 5, less than 10%. But still, I'd never have 1%. I just when somebody told me a week ago, oh, my list is. I said, how long have you had your list for? Oh, well, I've got people on my list for 6 months or more, and it's down to 1% open rate. Whoa, something wrong there. Let me see some of your emails. Send them over. Let me have a look. And they're just bland, and
or they're copied from something else. Oh my God, I hate that. Yeah.
And so people aren't going to open them because it's become so predictable and so ho-hum.
Yeah. But I'd like to just talk to you a moment, because a lot of people that are watching this will say, or they enter the market and they see the big bucks coming in and plastered everywhere, and then it hits them, after a month or 2 months. What am I doing wrong? They don't realise the method in actually building it up to that. You don't sort of just jump in and it happens. It's a lot of the tweaking that goes on before you get to that stage, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it really depends on what assets you have when you come to the table. So if to get a quick result, I got a quick result. I think like my first month with my current primary program was about $9,000, and the second month was like $27,000 or something like that. And people say that's a pretty good result, a good short-term result. But I always tell them, I say, well, look, I had assets in place because I'd already paid the price. You haven't paid the price yet.
Yeah.
You have to pay the price. You're prepared to do that. Maybe not. Well, you've got to decide, because if you're not prepared to pay the price, you're not going to get the reward. I've paid the price.
Yeah.
So that business came easily, but I'd paid the price previously, which wasn't always easy. So of the $200 and something thousand of commissions that were generated with that program in the first year, from August to just last month, probably a bit over half of it could be attributable to the assets that I already had, that I already brought to the table, in terms of I had a list, not a huge list, but I did have a responsive list, people who really like my stuff. And some of them have been on my list for years. And so I had a list, I had a blog, so I had some assets. So I just leveraged those assets. But if you don't have those assets, all right, well, you've got to take the long view and build from scratch. It's okay. You don't have to, get out of the blocks there and be making $2,000 a week or whatever in your first month or your second month. You don't have to do that, because if you don't have those assets, if you haven't brought some assets to the table, you're probably not going to make some quick money, and that needs to be said to people. It's great to see the big figures and the heroes, because I like that as well, but you also have to balance expectations by saying, look, that's my story. Your story is probably going to be different. You're probably not going to make anywhere near the money I made in the first 12 months. Can you live with that?
Yeah, well, that's a really hard, fast question to ask them. You know, like what's the bricks and mortar ratio? It's 5 years, and a lot of them
Yeah,
will be out of business. You know,
yeah,
yeah, but people want that in 5 weeks. You know what you've got now. You know,
that's
so
right.
not only just the assets, Kim, it's the assets within themselves. You know, to
Uh-huh.
look at the education that they're taking in, because
Yeah,
it's a lot, isn't it?
that's a personal asset, and that's
Mm.
critically important. Having the right mental, the internal settings in place, the mental settings.
Mm-hmm.
And people that typically come from like a sheltered background, they've never, done much of an entrepreneurial nature in the past. Um, they're going to have to do some extra work to get their head working right
Yeah.
before they can embrace these advanced concepts and teachings.
And the only shortcut through all that, you know, it's not the 3 clicks and I'm there. It's to be investing in themselves in mentors and coaches that are going to be able to, get them up quicker, because the mentors and the coaches are the ones that have, had the education, they've made all the mistakes, and they can show them the quick way to the top rather than, the long way. You know, so yeah, that's a really important one, I feel.
Agree.
Mm.
Actually, the first home biz program that I joined in 2006, there was a mentor there, and she was the one that I'm still really good friends with her, even though she's moved on to other things now. But I always give thanks to her because she helped me set up that initial Google AdWords campaign. And without that, I would have been totally lost, So, yeah.
Yeah. In talking about mentors and coaches, have you progressed and latched on to the next level up, or is that something that, you're self motivated and you don't need that level of mentorship any longer?
Oh, no, I think I do. Yeah, I like the concept of I've had mentors in the past, and no doubt I'll have more in the future. At the moment, I don't actually have anybody, but although somebody approached me, or somebody recommended that I talk to somebody who was pretty good the other week, last week I think it was. So maybe I'll have a discussion with him. I don't know, but yeah, but I do like mentoring other people as well. So it can work two ways, can't it?
Yeah, it's always the ones coming up underneath. I find, they will outgrow, yourself. When you know as much as that mentor, it's time to look up the line,
Yeah,
so that you grow with your own personal growth as well. So yeah, it's
yeah,
really
absolutely.
important.
So I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
you're going.
what do you got cooking now? What are you up to in that your little laboratory over there? Are you,
Oh, well, I told you before the call that
yeah.
I'm in the process of hiring a telemarketer. I initially wanted to hire the person out of Australia, but I just couldn't get a response. I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 applicants, but none of them stacked up. So I decided, okay, I didn't want to do it this way, but I'm going to go back to Odesk, and I'll put a job post up there. So I did that on Monday, and within, I don't know, 2 hours or something, I had like 10 applicants, and I just checked this morning, I've now got 22 applicants.
Wow.
I've interviewed 3 people this morning. I interviewed another one yesterday. They're all from the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, well, actually 2 of them I interviewed this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So I wanted to employ someone living in my own home country, but
Yeah, you try, don't you? You try, you really do. But I think we've outpriced ourselves a lot in the market as well, and
yeah.
of course everyone's looking abroad now yeah, and the skill level there is just phenomenal as well,
Well, this
because
last guy I interviewed, wow, this guy was sensational. Better than anyone I've spoken to in Australia over the
Wow.
years, you know. So we'll see. I'll make it by the weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's good. A couple of points that you've covered there is the fact that you've gone to a desk or Lance or wherever you go. You must be very, very strict and specific on what you put in your application, because you'd have a lot of people that were underskilled that would see that and sort of jump on it. Is that what you do? Is that what you, if someone was to do the similar thing to you?
Yeah, I look at, obviously I look at their CV. I look at how many stars they've had, like feedback from other employers, and I generally only go with people who've got 5 stars. So that's 5 out of 5, or close to, 5 out of 5, and then I text chat with them on Skype after that, and then I'll have a proper phone conversation with them, and obviously I'm listening for how they project and all the rest of it, because it's very important to me that people know how to connect properly over the phone, get some warmth happening,
Just before you go on, Kim, I've just had I'm watching the chat as we speak here, and one of the ladies is wanting to talk to you about a position. So perhaps,
okay.
Yeah.
In Australia.
She's in Australia.
Anybody from, say, the US or Canada sees this recording. I'm not turning my back on the US and Canada, but I decided that I would launch this project in my home market first, generate the leads. I've got leads happening, and I can step that up very quickly. And by the way, I'm not just doing this for myself. I've got some people that I'm working with in my team that want to be part of this project, so they'll be sort of sharing in the spoils as well. But once I've got the Australian thing really, firing, well then the plan is to do a similar thing in the US and Canada. So, but
wow.
But yeah. So did you say somebody wanted to talk? Or?
Yeah. She's they're all muted at the moment, but there's something, perhaps she could contact you or PM you after this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Just get me on Skype, Kim Willis Rocks, ROCKS.
I love that. Nothing like blowing your own horn, is it, Kim? I think it's very cute. So you're very specific, and that's wonderful to be able to narrow it down to 22. Because I've, stupidly, when I've done it in the earlier days, you'd end up with about 100 that would apply for jobs, and it's just too much. You just walk away. It's too overwhelming.
And I mean, if you do hire somebody yourself, there are a lot of traps, I can tell you, but. Once again, I've paid the price previously, but made a lot of mistakes in this arena. But one of the things that I insist upon is that they work closely with me. They have to be available. I don't want them to just wander off and do their work and then put their hand out for a paycheck at the end of the week. I want to be engaging with them every day. Why? Because I want to be able to fine-tune what they're doing. And if I allow them just to go off by themselves and make these calls and phone my leads that I've had to pay for, and then a week might elapse, or 4 or 5 days might elapse, and I see there's no results, there's no appointments, there's nothing happening. Well, I've lost all that money, I've lost all that time, and I've lost those leads. So I strictly control how I work with them, and I want to inculcate them with my philosophy, if you like. And because what I've found is that if you can get people to emotionally connect with what you're doing, they'll go the extra mile for you. They'll stretch, right? Marketing is not a mechanical process. Anybody thinks it is deluding themselves. It's a creative process. Yes, there are mechanics to it and all the rest of it. There are mechanical aspects. But it is a creative process. It's an emotional process. So if I'm going to hire somebody, particularly in that area, phoning people, etc. It's important that they're on my level, on my wavelength, and they're bought into my vision. And then if I give that to them effectively, well, then they might be able to pass it on to the people that they're talking to.
That's a very good point, and you know, I think people that I need to plug Michael Oliver for his phone contact work, because it's excellent.
Brilliant.
You know, it is brilliant, and if anyone's listening to this, I know people are listening to it, but you know, I implore them to get his book. What's it called again, Kim?
Gee,
yeah. Yeah,
But I've met. Oh, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a top bloke, you know, and I've got a lot of time for him. But it's just the way that he asks the questions, and it's so like in a conversation, you don't even realise that he's actually selling you, you know. And
yeah, that's right. Actually, he was my phone consultant when I joined my current program.
Really?
He was the one that made the sale. He sold me.
Yeah, yeah.
He phoned me because I was a lead, and he phoned me, and then guided me forward, moved me forward.
Yeah. And it's a natural progression, isn't it? You know, and he actually trained other people within that team, and I can hear him now. Now that I'm aware of him, I can hear when other people have done his sort of training. So that's an awesome skill to be able to sell without selling. It's called something natural selling.
Yeah, natural selling or something like that.
Yeah. It's really a good read, and it's a must-do if you're going to, you know, jump on the phone and that. So basically, I think we've rounded up. Though we've been talking now for, you know, talking our ears off for about 50 minutes now, Kim. It's gone so quickly. Is there any sort of parting knowledge that you'd like to tell the ladies and the people that are watching this? Would you, if someone was just starting out, what would you say to them?
I'll just re-emphasise the point I made earlier about taking the long view.
It's a business.
Give yourself a pat on the back if you get a quick result. That's great. But if you don't get a quick result, no big deal. Take a long view. Look at it as a minimum. Commit to it for a minimum of 6 months and preferably 12 months. Give it a year. Give it a year. And of course, work with somebody that knows more than you. That makes a lot of sense. And if you take that longer-term view, your expectations will be more realistic, and you won't be as subjected to the emotional, you know, ups and downs.
Yeah.
Because you're focused more on the long-term view. You're not hanging out for the next sale next week. You've got to have a sale because you need the money. Look, if you get into that mode, go and get a part-time job. If you're at that point where you've got to have a sale because you need the money and you need it like yesterday, well, maybe you need to get a part-time job or get some other income going, and then give this business or the business that you're in the respect that it deserves, and take that long-term view, and you'll probably find that your results will be very, very pleasing by the end of that 12-month period.
Oh, that's awesome. I've just had Sam write in that it's called Natural Selling with Michael Oliver. So there you go. Yeah, we knew it, didn't we, Kim? We just wanted to see if they knew it. Yeah. But I just think, too, on closing, is that you just hit the nail on the head so well, because the fact that it takes the pressure off if you're trying to nail this in a month, your first month or 2 months. And you're nearly tripping over your lip by the third month, you know, but you're starting to, without even knowing about it, you're picking up the knowledge, and your knowledge to work. Building.
We've got to somehow control, or as best we can, control those inner voices. And I always call it the battle. You know, it's the battle between the forces of good and evil. So in our head, we've got the negative voices that's saying to us, why are you doing this? You know, you're crazy. You're not a marketer. You'll never be a marketer. You know, just be happy with your lot in life. Forget about trying to create a
I'll fail at this, you know, don't worry.
yeah, all of that. And then you've got the other voice, which is the positive voice, which says, yes, this is great, I can do it, and all the rest of it. So what we've got to do is we've got to somehow find ways of enabling the positive voices to prevail more often than not. We're all still going to have those niggling doubts. I mean, if I go for a period of 2 weeks without a sale, the doubts, I still experience it after all this time. But fortunately, I'm able to call on my positive voices. I'm able to dig deep and find the positive voice again. Just hang in for another week. Chances are something positive is going to happen. Even if it's not a big sale, something positive will happen. I'll get an increase in the number of leads. There'll be an indicator that gives me heart and confidence. So I don't always focus on the sale, because the sale is the end result. But look at the key indicators. How many opt-ins have you had? All of those sorts of things. Are they heading in the right direction? But try and give yourself little positive pats on the back along the way, so that we can keep those positive voices happening, because once those negative voices start to just take over, it doesn't take much for us to be out of the industry, out of the business, and then we're another statistic and we're another unhappy person.
Yeah, yeah. You start to spiral when you get into that, and then you're like the bad apple in the barrel. You know, you start to see fault in everything that you do.
That's right. We go to the namers and blamers stage.
Yeah.
Blame and all this sort of stuff, which is kind of juvenile behaviour. But look, we've probably all done it at different times. I know I probably have as well. But if we can just sort of focus more on the long term, have realistic expectations. Sure, we want to do well, but people often focus. They expect more in the short term than they do in the long term. They underestimate how much they can achieve in the long term, but they overestimate quite often how much they can achieve in the short term. So if we can just get that balance a little bit more in our favour, then we'll be more patient. We'll probably have more of a positive vibe about what we're doing, and we'll just press on regardless.
That's awesome. If people want to get in contact with you, Kim, or get on your team, whatever, how do they get you?
Well, Skype, Kim Willis, that's K-I-M with an I. Facebook, just, catch me on Facebook. I'm on there about 22 hours a day. No, joke, I'm not.
Barely get your time to shave.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for jumping on as you did, and you gave so much value in just having a chat, and I can see why the groupies in the Lipstick Lounge love you. So
groupies.
We might have you as a lipstick lady.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard of aging rock stars. One day I might become I might already be there, an aging blog star.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Kim, and I hope it's not too long before we have another chat.
Okay. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for the.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.